project has evolved from the first episode dramatically because it was not supposed to be anything more than once on the first time. It was just going to be a party with a photo shoot and a video shoot. And now I've done 16 of them, and it's become more and more of a production, and I've been learning the whole time on how to do this. I was very enthused by this kind of new media existence where the YouTube stuff of this world, where I just felt like I could pick up a camera and just try and do something really badly, but just the fact that you could do it and you could publish it yourself. And I've always been very big on this ability now with digital to publish your own stuff. So it was very light-hearted and very naive indeed. And when you see the first one, it is hilariously naive, but I love it for that. And now it's got to the point where I take it very seriously, but still aim to have fun at the end of it. And it must always be fun for the women involved, else it's kind of pointless. From the beginning, I've always been the organizer of every episode, and the concept artist, although when I first started it I didn't really call myself a concept artist. It's only since I've started doing it people have called me that. But now I spend very little time in front of the camera and much more behind, because I understand a lot more of how to get where I want from in my head on the final product, basically. So I'd spend a lot more time talking to the guys that are filming and doing the photography about what I want to get, although I still very much need all of them to do the technical work. Each piece has several facets to it. There is the video, which is usually a music video, but sometimes could be a behind the scenes record, and there is always a photo collection, and then there is actually the piece itself, which is basically how the women are feeling on the day and what is driving them through this, and basically the joy I get from getting the women to form what I had in my head in the first place. So it's all of those things together, and then in addition it's very much, the collection is all put all together is very much a piece in itself. You can see the progression of it. So it's not just a music video, but I chose music video as a format for it to be on exposure, basically. I am influenced by Busby Berkeley, very obviously, and has the most influence. He's a 1920s director who used many women in geometrical shapes and did these immense choreographed pieces, which I would so love to build into doing, but you can't do that on a one day when the women don't know what they're doing, when they turn up kind of event. And also I really am kind of a bit of a slut for oversaturated colours from like David LaChapelle kind of photography. And I am very, very obsessed with order and math, and I use this a lot in what I'm doing. I like to have repetition, I like to have unison, I like to have all the things that kind of aren't really that creative, basically. And yeah, put chaos into order, but not on everything. I like to use women of all shapes and sizes in these. First of all, because the whole point of this project was because I had several girls I knew who had eating disorders and major lack of confidence, and I wanted to like just shove them in somewhere where they can't hide. And that's basically where the spandex came in, because you can't hide in spandex. It's just point blank impossible. And I want to use women of all shapes and sizes, not because I find it necessary that every single video has to have it in, but because I've chosen music videos as the platform to get most people to see the art pieces, although there's also all the photography and the piece itself, the performance. Music videos are usually either comedy, using different shapes and sizes, or they're just using highly stylized. And unfortunately, the more that music videos have developed, the more it's becoming stylized in the mainstream. Not everybody, of course, but the kind of pap that is on MTV, pumped in front of young kids is generally very over stylized and pornographic in my view, really. I know for a fact that several of the women involved in the project have changed how they think of their body and have told me that it has got to do with the project, but it's not necessarily all down to that. Maybe just it gave them a little feel of what it was like to be a bit more free with themselves. But I know for some people it has made a difference, and I've had a lot of very interesting feedback in emails from people all over Iceland and abroad, saying that just seeing it has made them feel better. And I had a really cute mail from a father in a little tiny coastal town in Iceland that said that his young teenage daughters were looking at this project and he thought it was so great to have this mindset on figures, basically. The project is very well known now in this country, although I don't know that everybody is aware really of what it's about. I don't think people are aware of the fact that what happens is I take a group of women and they arrive at my house or at a meeting place on one day, and they don't realise that the women don't know where they're going, they don't know what they're doing, they don't know what they're wearing, they don't know anything. All they'll know is the bare minimum I can give away to them, like if they're going to be in water, I warn them of it in case someone can't swim or something like that. And so people are aware of the end product because it appears on television and in the newspapers quite a lot, but I don't know that they really realise that the concept behind it a lot of the time. I think they just see the music videos as themselves like that. But it's kind of funny because I actually called up someone to help me with applying for a grant from Reykjavík, and they said, oh yeah, you'll be fine, everybody knows the crazy girls. And I just thought this was very cute. But they knew roughly what it was, but not necessarily the details, but I kind of like that. The range of women that take part is very broad. They're mostly Icelandic, although they've been foreigners, and there's quite a few more foreigners waiting to have a go at being in it. There's single stay-at-home moms, there's investment broker, there's art students, there's dancers, there's like all sorts of women, and there are women that are very confident in themselves anyway, and there are women that are very much not. And there are women that came into the group knowing people already, and there are people that were complete strangers. And it's just a very broad collection. And now the age group goes from like 17 up to 40 something at the moment. Whenever people approach me to take part, I always interview them, but it's not really. They don't have to be anything in particular. It's just for me to explain what I expect of them, and for them to understand that, especially now, it is for me, a very serious day, and I want them to listen to what I'm asking of them, and that basically for them to understand in return for that, they will get an experience that isn't usual, and they usually have fun on it. But I like to find people who are just, will get something from the project, and not in it purely for vanity, because a lot of people want to do it purely for vanity, and I understand that the appeal of having some crazy costumes and photos on, and that's kind of where a lot of it comes from. I mean, everybody as a little girl wants to play dress up, but I want to give people more than that if possible, and I get approached by so many people these days. I tend to pull people in earlier if I think they will gain something from it. My favourite episode so far has to be one I filmed in May this year. It was one of these things where everything came together. I didn't have the money, I didn't have the brain capacity due to splitting up with my long-term partner, and I just was going to bail on the whole thing. And then I had brilliant support from people around, and help with fundraising and sponsorship from various Icelandic companies. And when we actually got to the place that we were filming in Thorsmok, which is a place I wanted to film for several years, everything turned out perfectly with regards to the weather, with regards to the lighting, with regards to how all the women bonded very much, and the way that we just got every shot that we wanted to get. And yeah, this was just like the pinnacle for me so far. Having this project to concentrate on for some of the women involved has helped them get through some rough times. I've had a few of them either go through breakups or have difficult family situations and call me to say they're going to bail, and I've just told them that they can welcome to bail on the day, but maybe they should just try and come. And everybody that has pulled it off have been very pleased with that. And for me personally, I really didn't want to do this episode in May. I didn't want to be in it. I wanted to be behind the camera only because I was feeling very low about myself indeed. And then I had to give myself a big kick and remind myself this was the point of the project for other women and I should just be one of them. And put myself in spandex like with everybody else, basically. I did still spend most of the time behind the camera just because it was needed, but I was really glad that I did that. I think the only reason that I can do this project is because of where I live. Or the only reason that I have done this project is because of where I live. I really don't want to sound like a cliche foreigner, but I'm going to. But basically I moved here and there's such a sense of like, fuck it, why don't you just do that about everything? It's because everything is within reach, because it's a very small place and you know everybody and everybody knows somebody who's got something that can help you with whatever it is. And coming from London where everything is very hard, it's great there, but it's very hard to accomplish things because there are a million other people trying to do it and everybody's out to earn their buck. And of course that's legitimate, but here it's a lot more of like, okay, if you do me this favour, I'll do you this favour later down the line. And when I moved here, I'd already had a substantial interest in film and photography, and had done various video projects before, but not in any professional manner whatsoever. And it just became like why don't you do it? Why don't you just do something? And that is very special to this place, along with the fact that you have this immense pool of creativity, which is, again, the cliche, but it's a cliche because it's true. And there's just really talented people here, and they're just in every little corner, and it's brilliant. And I've been incredibly lucky to have people willing to work with me. And especially because, I mean, I am essentially one of these poor artists that doesn't have any money. I desperately want to be able to pay everybody. I hate not being able to pay everybody. But I just really like the fact that people seem to enjoy working with on this. And, you know, I blatantly would not have pulled this off without them. And certainly wouldn't have got as far as it's got without them.